Blessings and greetings to each and every one of you at any corner of this beautiful, wild world. The reason that we are here together on Togetherness Media doing a program called Flow is that flow is the essence of everything we do in life. Without the flow, we cannot be running smoothly. Our operational systems will not be as accurately getting us the results that we need. So it's really important to pay attention to this really significant part of our day-to-day life called flow, and relating it to that magic inside of us that's a natural flow of things as how we're born and how the universe is functioning. So you see what a huge concept it is. We have a personal responsibility to be in flow and utilize this flow to be in flow with the bigger picture of the universe. And once this togetherness flow is made, we are actually in our best position or are at optimum conditions for creating results, being productive, being happy, healthy, and successful. In order to do that, then we have to divide these different hundreds of different aspects of flow into one unit, which is each individual, and this responsibility starts with our body. Our body is the first place that this flow needs to be attended to, and our physical aspects of being is the topic of today, as how flow goes into our systems. But one by one, every system has its own flow chart and its own ways of creating this flow. Let's start from breathing. We take oxygen in, okay, and then oxygen goes through our lungs, through the capillaries, distributes into our blood system, takes hemoglobin, and then goes riding on it into different organs and oxygenate them, and then on the way back it will pick up the carbon dioxide and then brings it back to our lungs, and then it releases it. So a full cycle of this flow is our breathing system. And imagine now with this unfortunate condition of the COVID-19, this flow is the first place that has been affected, and our breathing system, our lungs are in danger of collapsing due to this virus. So any obstacle like this virus can take the flow out of the system and bring it to destruction, decay, and rot. So in every organ, in every part of our body, that attention is required. We don't need to have a virus to pay attention to our breathing. Our breathing can be attended to at any given time. As several times in this program we have discussed, our breathing has a certain algorithm at its optimum, which is taking the air from our nose into our belly under our diaphragm, incapacitating, actually giving extra capacity to our lungs, and then these lungs are taking more oxygen by the stomach coming out and the lungs going more open into the diaphragm, and then now by pushing it back and bringing the diaphragm up, the lungs are getting constricted by pushing your belly in and getting the air out of your mouth. So in from your nose, out from your mouth. This is the top of our work in our human responsibility to the body, breathing, because without the oxygen nothing else is going to matter, and breathing is the first step in this physical flow. And then you take this breathing, you go into doing anything that is a requirement, and then we can adjust, regulate, work with this flow of our breathing into different practices. There are some places that we hold our breath because we need to do that. There are some places that we breathe shallower or faster as we need to do that. So we have a mindset of flow over the flow of our breathing. So take this further, let's go into our blood system. The heart is creating an algorithm by releasing or pumping blood into the arteries, and then from that arteries vibration, there is a certain speed of the blood that goes into other veins and then into capillaries, and then it just distributes all over our body, and then it comes back again, it reflects back into the heart and pumps again and again. So the flow of our heart is also another algorithm or rhythm of this way of being. So paying attention to how we are managing this system from our heart all the way now to our digestive system, because that's another system that's getting affected. Our digestive system is starting from our mouth. We put the food in, goes into our esophagus, and then goes into our stomach, and then into the small intestines and the large intestines or the colon, and then out of the rectum. So that's again another flow. As you can see, in every step of the way, this body is functioning with certain flow in any possibility that we're running it. Without having that connection being made, anything that gets on the way is going to be a problem. Let's say somebody drinks too much, and this drinking eventually affects the esophagus, and then this creates a lot of other problems. Or in the stomach, you have ulcers, and you have GERD disease, and then into the colon you have a lot of restrictions. It's very interesting, all of the aspects of the physiological way of being, just like constipation or diarrhea or even throwing up. These are all the issues that the system is trying to show us. There is some kind of a restriction, there is some sort of a problem, there is some sort of a stress into the flow of this system. So really paying attention to all of these different aspects of our eating creates a better flow. All the aspects of our breathing creates a better flow. In our sleep, the same thing. Our sleep patterns are in a certain way that we go through a certain phase or certain phases of sleep, starting from a very light sleep and going to a deeper sleep, and then going into a REM sleep. And in this REM sleep, the mind is processing more information and cleaning up the system. And once it does that through our dreams, then we come back to a lighter sleep until we wake up. So the circle or the cycle is a way of seeing this flow. Now, interesting enough, flow can be measurable. We can, understand how this flow is. If we want to go physical about the flow is in reality is the speed of any object going through a certain system within a certain time. So we can really understand what kind of a volume, what kind of a capacity we're talking about, and then see how this goes within a certain time at a certain speed, which is the velocity. So the velocity of our processing of this object into the system within a time, it's almost like a milligram per second. When you're having a milligram per second is being released, that means the flow is that. But the volume is different. The velocity is different. With the velocity, we're just measuring the distance that is gone within that time. So now, in order to understand relates with the object, then the object is really important, how we are managing the lightness of it, the quality of it, the viscosity of it, because if things are sticky, if things are not moving within the flow at ease, then those restrictions are happening. I'm speaking a little bit more physiological today, but I'm doing this for the reason to understand how the 8 spokes of the wheel of well-being, as we've been discussing in Balancing the Wheel book, and also all the concept of this wheel starts with our physical base at the root of it, and how this breathing, eating, sleeping, our sexuality, our fitness, they're all related into the base of this flow. If this flow is not correct, if this flow is not optimum at the base of it, everything else that we do in life is going to be affected. So in order to go through all of the 8 spokes of the wheel, physical, mental, emotional, relational, recreational, environmental, spiritual, and financial, which are the 8 areas that we're discussing in the topics of flow. The very first one is how physiologically we are balanced and how physiologically we are at our optimum flow of things, and how we can manage this situation to go forward. So in other words, before you can attend to your relationship, which is a huge topic of our conversations as we're going forward, the personal responsibility for each individual is really important. How each one of us is able to love ourselves, to care for ourselves, to watch what we do, how we do, and at what volume and at what capacity we're doing it. And imagine once we do that, then there is really much less problems to be dealt with. We are capable of managing this system rather than restricting it, controlling it, as a lot of our body parts are required to do that when things are not moving in the correct direction. So if your stomach is not digesting the food, then we have a restriction in the problem. If your bladder is not doing its functioning and is not doing the release, we have a big problem. If your rectum is not doing its job, we have a problem. Our lungs, any part of our body needs to be in that algorithm of vibration, of flow. And once we can do that, then we can be in a better situation, more healthier, and at ease. So I'm hoping that you can see how every movement that we have, every time that we sit and we get up and we eat or we talk to our friends, these are all aspects of our physiological presence that needs to be within a flow of itself. And the backaches or muscle tensions or any kind of ailment, these are the factors that slow down the flow or stagnate the flow, or at some points just not making it as efficient as it should be. It's our personal responsibility, one more time, to take care of all of these needs. And that's why we need to talk to people, specialists. We need to do our checkups. We need to pay attention to wherever the pain or discomforts are. And if we just ignore them and we let them go by, within certain time, this function gets worse and worse. Things get stuck more and more. Let's say if you have cholesterol and then this cholesterol is not attended to, the cholesterol starts blocking your arteries and making your blood flow constricted, and blood cannot get to your body parts, and then you get sick. I'm hoping that I'm making enough of a case for you to pay more attention to your physiological well-being. That's at the core of everything we do. In my book, Balancing the Wheel, the chapter of physical is attributed to all of these areas. And as we're moving along, we will be discussing more of these issues in the stuckness of the flow, especially in the physical. And then one part of the physical that we didn't talk about much today, and it's an interesting subject because the three, sleep and fitness and eating, these are very basic, and we kind of pay attention to them no matter what every day. Our sexuality or sex life is something that we don't pay enough attention, or maybe we pay too much attention to in our flow and in the base of the physical. So in our next program, we'll be discussing how these sexual stagnations or the sexual problems in the system are going to affect the flow, and how this flow needs to be adjusted in that physical sense before we get to any higher level. Well, Willow Wellbeing has been around for 12 years. From the get-go, we started promoting well-being, and for having that well-being, we need to be balanced, and in order to be balanced, we need to pay attention to flow. All of these things are similar to each other, but each one is a part of a bigger picture. The picture is, at the core of it, is your well-being and how you are the manager of this system to make it well. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, myself and Coach Bonnie, my wife, who's a co-founder of Willow Wellbeing, we are able to bring you all the information that you need in order to get yourself out of the stuck positions that you might be in. as you pay attention to this program, we will be discussing all different aspects of human life, from the physical body of it to making money and being financially certain, being in good relationships. We will be covering all of these concepts week after week, and I hope that you can stay with us through these short programs and getting enough information to pay attention to the flow. One more time, the Wheel of Wellbeing has a quiz, a test about your balance. If you're willing to take that test, it's at no cost, and I'll be the only person who can see the results. You can take that test at your free time at wheelofwellbeing.com, the quiz, and you can see yourself on a map how balanced you are, what areas of your body requires more attention or requires more care and love. And coming to the concept of love, love is something that, again, is going to be in everything that we discuss, because without love, we're not going to be able to adjust and make the changes. We have no motivation. Self-love is the first degree of love. Some people are making a mistake thinking that self-love is selfishness. No, it's not. In order for you to love yourself, you need to care for yourself, you need to take care of yourself, and this shouldn't be at the cost of others. You're not going to break boundaries or abuse the system or do something that is selfish. But if you're taking care of yourself, you're taking steps and just seeing yourself in that flow without really bothering anybody else, that's what we're talking about, and that's where you're showing love. And once you are in that flow and you're in the flow of love, then your connection with others is totally different, and you wouldn't have much restrictions or conflicts with other people. I hope that this message goes from my mouth to your heart, and the flow of this energy of love continues in your day, going through all your aspects of being, in your families, with your friends, with your colleagues, wherever you are. Wishing you the best until our next section, which we'll be discussing the sexual flow and how that is important at the physical base of our flow chart. Thank you for paying attention and looking forward to our next conversation. Raise your vibration and re-engage with life. Find balance and reconnect with joy. Your vehicle is balancing the wheel, and we're here to support you in becoming more happier, healthier, and successful. wheelofwellbeing.com or drsadigh.com.
Do you have viruses or malware warnings? Have a problem with your computer and need help?